You know, folks, one thing about springtime, as crazy as it sounds, is springtime is known is known as a time where romance blooms, love takes flight. And we've talked about a lot, being a cartoon fan, growing up, watching any kind of cartoon I could watch, mostly Disney at times. We've always seen our share of potential, and if not a stat of not just potential, but pretty much confirmed pairings, romantic couples and pairings. We take a look at something like, say, Chippendale's Rescue Rangers. And we take a look at the continuation, if you will, thanks to Boom Studios. We take a look at all that, and we pretty much could say that it's already established that, according to with Boom Studio Comics' help, that Dale and Foxglove Bat are a couple. But then again, when you take a look at the animated series, sometimes, back when that series first began, yeah, the episode Good Time, Bat Time, especially towards the end, kind of implied that. But a majority of the other time, you had, of course, Chip and Dale always competing over the affections of Gadget. And basically wanting Gadget to at least decide who you're going to choose. Now, of course, she never really gave an answer to that. But if you read Chris Fisher's of Mice and Mayhem webcomic, which is one of the more talked about, if not more celebrated webcomics out there, you pretty much see who Gadget chooses. Well, pretty much he was the only choice. But point is, a majority of that time during the series, fans would always wonder, who would Gadget choose? And at times people would say, well, it's hinting towards Chip. Because the majority of the time, Chip's always in the front seat with Gadget when she's piloting the Ranger Wing, the Ranger Plane, the Ranger Mobile, whatever. But, on the other hand, there have been episodes where she has been shown, well, fans would pretty much say she's been shown to favor Dale, or she's shown to have some kind of attraction to Dale. You want bigger evidence? Double O Chipmunk's a good one. And there are several others out there. Song of the Nightingale, RoboCat, the beginning of Cattery's Not Included, and the list goes on. Even towards the end of, even in Dale Beside Himself, and towards the end of Dale Beside Himself. I mean, again, the list goes on and on and on. And yet, she never chose. She never chose any between them. Even though some fans, including myself, believe that had the series continued on and the original movie had been made, because yes, there was a movie planned for a 1991 theatrical release. Had that 1991 movie been released, we probably would have gotten the answer, and it probably would have been Dale. Not saying that that's a fact. It's just a personal opinion and feeling from a fan like myself and others out there. But that's not the thing we want to talk about here. What we want to talk about is a couple that pretty much was confirmed, pretty much fans could tell is confirmed almost right from the beginning. And of course, being in a good mood, and surprisingly this morning, finding out that my job at Walmart here in Patterson now carried the second volume of this show, a volume which I had been looking around to get. I've decided that I'm going to talk about the one pairing in this show that pretty much was confirmed, yet not really, solidified. In other words, there was not an episode that said, okay, they are now boyfriend, girlfriend. They are now lovers, if you will. And of course, I'm talking about Talespin's own Baloo and Rebecca, or Baloo and Becky. Now, a little side note here. A little side note. A little trivia side note, if you will. When Baloo and Rebecca's relationship was being developed, it was inspired by another relationship which was part of a very successful prime time sitcom. And this is a sitcom that when this show came out had entered its 7th season, or its 8th season, or whatever, 8th or 7th season, and that was Cheers. Now, according to people that worked on the show, Baloo and Rebecca's relationship was inspired by the back and forth relationship between the character of Sam Malone and Rebecca Dawson of Cheers. And pretty much we know what happened there temporarily. They ended up getting together for a short time. And that was between employer and employee. And the premise was very similar too. Rebecca had bought out Cheers because Sam had left. Sam wanted to come back, hopefully to get and basically begin where he left off, but found out he couldn't, so he ends up being hired back on because he knows a lot about the bar. He knows how to run things there. He ends up getting hired back on as an employee. Sound familiar? Well, because that's exactly almost a similar premise as what we got in Talespin. Now, of course, Baloo doesn't walk off and say, oh, I'm done with this, whatever, and then try to come back. No. Instead, you have basically the premise, like I say, even though it's similar, it's a little different. The premise is Baloo is late on a lot of these unpaid bills, one of them being for the Sea Duck, his plane that he holds very precious and dear to him. And because he does not, he's too relaxed and too like, hey, I do my jobs, I make my money, blah, 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 blah. I'm just enjoying life. I got my business, I'm fine, I'm enjoying life. Because he doesn't take his job or his business seriously, he ends up losing it and the Sea Duck to Rebecca Cunningham. And thus goes from being his own boss, his own employer, to himself, to being her employee. Again, sounds very similar, right? Premise is similar, just a little bit more different. But the point is, the relationship was kind of very similar as well, kind of back and forth as well. But a lot of fans of Cheers pretty much knew that even though it might be permanent, temporarily, even though a lot of fans of Cheers, and believe me, there was a lot of fans, of that sitcom, my family being part of that fan base, my mom mostly. Pretty much everybody knew, and I'm sorry for the slight pauses there, I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say next. Pretty much all the fans knew that even that Rebecca Dawson and Sam were going to get together, and they knew they were going to get together even if it was going to be permanent or temporary. And yeah, it was temporary, but it happened. Now, what does this have to do with Baloo and Rebecca? Well, you take a look at the scenarios here. Same kind of scenario, similar situation. You have Baloo doing what I think Sam tried to do throughout, I think, one of the seasons, and that's try to save up enough money to buy back the Sea Duck. Basically say, okay, you could have hire for hire. you could have my old business. That's fine. I just want my plane back. So very similar situation to where I think Sam did the same thing in Cheers, where he's like, I'm saving up enough money to buy this bar back from her. Very similar situation, to the point that we never really find out. Well, not really find out, but it gets to the point that there are a few episodes where Baloo does get his plane back temporarily, and then it goes back to Rebecca. But very similar to the point that Sam finally gets back the bar, but then there's a situation down the line where he and Rebecca, they do switch roles temporarily, where she becomes the employee and he's the employer. But then it gets to a situation to where they become co-managers, co-owners. Okay? Following me here? All right. Again, this is why everybody always compared both of these relationships, as being similar. The only difference was Baloo and Rebecca's was very, you could say, was very genuine. And no doubt, in my opinion, would have been established as canon had the series continued. I mean, pretty much you have well, not every single episode, but you have episodes out there on this show that pretty much confirm Disney was going to get them together. There is no doubt. You have A Star is Torn. Biggest examples right there. My Fair Baloo. Biggest example right there. Cruel and Unusual Punishment. Biggest example there. And I can name more. Feminine Air. Big example there, as crazy as that sounds. And again, the list goes on and on and on and on. And again, I could look at the episodes. Last Horizons. She helps Baloo. She even says, after Baloo defeats the invaders, if you will, in this episode, you hear her say, I love you. Yeah, she tells Baloo she loves him. Save the Tiger. That's another one towards the end. Let's see. Oops. There's other ones here too. Like I said, Cruel and Unusual Punishment. My Fair Baloo. Let's see. Sheepskin Deep towards the end of that. There's sort of a connection there. I mean, she gives Baloo the day off when she finds out the truth finally. Some other bosses might be, forget it. But she gives him the day off. Pretty cool, right? And then let's see, what else? From Here to Machinery is a good one. It sort of has stuff in there. Let's see. Barely Alive, when they think he's dying. When they think Baloo is dying. And again, A Star is Torn. I think even the Balooist of Blue Bloods. The point is, folks, the point is, and I think On a Wing and a Bear or something like that. It's also another one like towards the end of that. The point is, to me, Disney had plans. I truly believe they had plans to get these two together. It's just that when the series came to an end, those plans came to an end. It's very similar to Kim Possible and Ron Stoppable. Fans knew those two should be together, and after So the Drama, did they stop the show? Originally, So the Drama was supposed to be the end. No, fans wanted more. They wanted more. They wanted more. And they got more. They got it in So the Drama. They got the fourth season. I mean, the point is, the point is, the Baloo Rebecca relationship, pretty much in the fans' eyes and in my eyes, was confirmed not just from the beginning of the series, but throughout. Certain episodes, like I mentioned the one, and I mentioned a few, you could pretty much see that strong connection. You could pretty much tell Disney was planning to make it happen. Like I say, Stars Torn is a good one. My Fair Baloo, Grew an Unusual Punishment. And again, the list goes on. The point is, the fan base knows this. They know it, and they've accepted it. The only problem is they never got to see any real confirmation. They never did. Now, some people might say, well, some of the creative staff said that was never the intention. That might be true. That might be true in their words, but sometimes I look at it like the only reason they say this stuff is to try to throw each and every one of us off so we don't think about it, so we don't find out the truth. And to me, as a fan, I really believe that was the plan all along. I truly do. I mean, you pretty much gave Wildcat a damn love interest in the episode Citizen Khan. I believe that's the one. You pretty much gave him a love interest in Citizen Khan. So, if you give him a love interest, hello? You know what I'm saying? The point is, Disney knows that we know the truth. And there is no denying that at all. There's no denying that. And someday we may finally get the truth out of their mouth. We may finally get them to admit it. But to me, you got so much evidence out there. Your Baloo's in the mail is another one. Okay? Here's the thing. She wins a contest. She wins a contest, right? Baloo doesn't know why she's so happy and excited. She just says, hey, take this mail, whatever. And she kisses him on the lips. Whatever. Give me a break. She does the same thing in One of the Weirds when she's playing along with him. Hello. And then she kind of gets a little affectionate with him at the end of Vow Play. I mean, again, this is just examples. She bats her eyes at him at the end of the final episode of the pilot miniseries movie. I mean, come on. How many more hints does Disney not have to throw at us not to confirm that these two were a couple? They just never really officially made it happen. So to me, yeah, you could have your traditional Disney relationships out of the movies and whatever. You could have your Beast and Bells. You can have your Erics and Ariels. You can have your Bernard and Biancas. You could have your Rapunzels and Flynn Riders. You can have your Christophers and Annas. You could have your Max and Roxannes. You could have your Aladdin and your Jasmine, your Simba and your Nala. You know. But to me, to me, I I just truly believe Disney was my opinion. I truly believe Disney originally intended for them to establish Baloo. I mean, honestly, I think Disney originally intended for Baloo and Rebecca to be established as a couple. I really do. I really do. I think they were originally intending for that to happen because I believe they originally intended for maybe like Rescue Rangers was originally intended to be, but never happened. I think originally they intended for a Tailspin movie to be created, to be made, and thus with that movie establish officially that Blue and Rebecca are a couple. That's just my opinion. You don't believe me? Give me a reason why. Give me your opinion. But to me, Baloo and Rebecca, Tailspin's Baloo and Rebecca are an official couple in my opinion. And that's all I'm going to say. You guys let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care.